On this episode of the Layover Live, Grant stops by to discuss the best ways to distribute your content. Grant, what are you doing, buddy?
Oh, just distributing my content.
No. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 84 of the Layover Live, where we bring you the top article from the Layover each week. I'm Jason Swick, VP of Digital Marketing, joined by strategic analyst Grant Stoltz. So, Grant, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
I know you kind of took, a little bit more of an old school approach to your content distribution, but
yes,
we want to talk a little bit more about something that's a little bit more relevant to this day and age. And a great article we've got this week coming from the Content Marketing Institute, which talks about how to match your content to the best distribution channel that's out there. As oftentimes when we create content, some content works really well on some channels based on what your goals are. Some work really well on other channels. If we're not careful, we're not going to match those things up properly when we're thinking about our distribution and amplification plan. So what are some of the channels, Grant, that are mentioned and the goals that they can help with along the way?
Yeah, absolutely. This article it's a pretty interesting article because I know we've been talking about content marketing the last couple episodes, and really this kind of now takes the approach of, okay, you have this content.
Yeah, how do we get it out there?
Right, what do you do with it? Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, it kind of mentions everything from paid channels, organic channels, social channels, and kind of everything in between. And just kind of talks about what metrics that each of those can affect, and then what kind of content it looks like on that channel. You know, it even goes as far as to say, you know, on some social channels that maybe can you change your content into certain GIFs or GIFs, and you know,
right.
Figure out what exactly that will kind of move as far as a metric. Okay, maybe it's impressions, maybe it's social media engagement, or then it's talking about some paid metrics. You know, when we're actually talking about bringing people onto the site or increasing site traffic. So it kind of actually goes through the full gamut of almost every distribution channel that you could potentially want, and then just talks a little more detail about ways in which to take that content that you have that's existing and then tailor it just slightly to whatever channel to, again, achieve those metrics.
So in that case then, how can marketers really decide then what channels they should be placing content on and using for their distribution strategy?
That's a great question, and the hard part about that is there's rarely ever a right answer, of course.
Right.
But that said, I think there's a lot of ways that marketers can choose the right channel for the content. Is either two ways. One is where they have the content that already exists, and then they say, you know, what can we do to pare this content down, change it, transform it in some way, and then pick the channel that I need to move the needle on. So for example, if I'm again trying to increase my social media engagement, I may take a 30-second video and split that up into 2 or 3 little GIFs and then post those as part of a social media strategy, or take that and make it a 15-second
content splittering.
Exactly,
which we just talked about last episode.
Exactly. So it's an interesting way to think about that, but then think about the metrics that you want to affect. So again, start with the end metric and then kind of work backwards in that sense. And again, the article does a great job of outlining that. So that's kind of, I think, one way. The other way then is to look at the content that you don't have, and then actually create it for that channel. So I think a lot of times, you know, we get caught up with making these perfect broadcast grade pieces of video content, photo content, whatnot. But actually, depending
it's not always needed, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah. Depending on the channel you want to display that on and the audience you want to reach, you actually can maybe do something a lot more casual. So for example, even if you are shooting, you know, a large scale video piece, have someone on their iPhone shooting the same kind of thing and have that posted up to your Instagram account, or go live on Facebook Live and stream that. So there's kind of a multitude of ways for existing content to divide it up, but then also to create new content relative to the specific channel.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And it also helps to get that content velocity up, meaning that we're putting out lots of content, as much as we can put out. If we think about those big hero pieces or those big broadcast quality type pieces, those take a long time to put out. And it's very challenging then to be able to get any type of content at scale. So in this case, if you start to find better ways to cut up that content or splinter that content out, it really helps then from a distribution standpoint to get a lot more content out into the ecosphere. Okay, so if that's the case then, how can we as marketers then decide what's winning and what's losing? Right?
Yeah.
What's a good way to do that?
That's, again, a great question. I think the end all in a lot of cases on digital is data. That is the great thing there, that a lot of it is truly measurable. And kind of, again, when we think about metrics, you know, what is the key metric we're looking at? And then what is my content doing to affect that metric, and is certain things changing it better or worse than others?
Yes.
So again, maybe it's a placement that you have for a paid advertisement. Maybe it's a different type of video piece, and there's the same one running on the same placement. So there's so many variables, it's kind of difficult to say, do this. And again, so many different audiences as well. So I think the idea there is just to look at how do the individual pieces compare to one another, and then figuring out, okay, what's the variable there that I changed, and that might be where I need to now look into to place more content, to make more content like that. So again, it's 1,000 different variables that are possible.
Absolutely.
But really it's looking at the metric that you wanted to affect, and did it change positively or negatively based off of the content and the placement choices that you made.
It's a good point. Every channel can't be everything to everyone. So it's figuring out on that particular channel, what are my goals? What am I trying to accomplish? Be very clear on those so you can very easily tell, hey, am I winning this game or am I losing this game and I need to shift my focus into something else? So really good advice there. Great article this week from the Content Marketing Institute. Check it out. It's got some really good pieces in there about defining goals, about the different distribution channels. Grant, you've summarized that very, very well. And thanks for tuning in each and every week. We really appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed, please do so, as we love to have you involved in all of our content each and every week. So the comments are important as well. We're also available on Spotify and iTunes if you're looking to hear us on audio. Thanks for tuning in each every week. Grant, thanks again. We'll see you next time. Have a great day.